There is a really interesting narration from Al-Bayhaqi's Al-Asma wa Sifat, his book on the divine names and attributes of God, which I thought was really interesting and was worth mentioning. He mentions from Ibn Abbas, the great sort of exegete of the Quran from amongst the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He mentions from him where he's explaining a certain verse of the Quran, which is from the chapter of the divorce, Surah Al-Talaq, verse 12, where he mentions the verse, Allahu alladhi khalaqa sab'a samawati wa min al-ardi mithlahunna. That God, Allah, He is the one who created the seven heavens and from the earth its likeness, their likeness. So it's implying that there are seven earths, so to speak, as per Islamic sort of the Islamic narrative about the universe may go. And he mentioned Ibn Abbas in explanation of this, sab'u ardina, that it is seven earths, right? Fi kulli ardin, in every earth, so to speak. Nabiyyun ka nabiyyikum, is a prophet like your prophet, meaning referring to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So in every one of these worlds, there is a Prophet Muhammad type figure, so to speak. Wa adamun ka adama, and an Adam like Adam, meaning they have an Adamic figure like your Adamic figure. وَنُوحٌ كَنُوحٍ, and they have a Noah figure, a figure like Noah, just like you have a figure like Noah. وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ كَإِبْرَاهِيمٍ, and they have an Abrahamic figure like you have an Abrahamic figure, so they have an Abraham and you have an Abraham. وَعِيسَى كَعِيسَى, and they have a Jesus figure like you have a Jesus figure. So just like you have a Prophet Muhammad, they have a Prophet Muhammad each respectively, and they also have a Abraham, a Noah, an Adam, a Jesus. And he also mentions from Ibn Abbas as well in explaining the verse that في كل أرض نحو إبراهيم عليه السلام, that in every earth there is somebody like Abraham, peace be upon him. And Al-Bayhaqi does mention, by the way, to be fair here, that إسناد هذا عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنه صحيح وهو شاذ بمرة. Right? And so Al-Bayhaqi mentions that this chain of narration from Ibn Abbas is authentic, but it is rare or it is an odd narration, right? And of course, it may be considered shadh, rare or odd as a narration, and in and of itself, it may seem a very odd thing to say. But it does bring up an interesting question of other worlds existing besides our own. Of course, there have been discussions of a multiverse, of alternate worlds, of alternate realities, of different worlds like ours existing, right? Of different worlds that have intelligent life as well. And so this narration, even though it is an odd narration from Ibn Abbas, and it's not necessarily a mainstream opinion, it could be used to sort of further corroborate the fact that there may be worlds like ours that we don't know of that do exist, or there could be different sort of a multiverse or whatever you want to call it, right? Different worlds with intelligent life that have prophets as well. And you don't necessarily have to believe in the Islamic narrative or the Christian narrative or in religion as a whole, or to believe in prophets to perhaps see not the wisdom, but see the rationale that on different worlds with different forms of life, if they do have intelligent life, it's not so difficult to imagine then that they would have prophets of their own, religions of their own, and that they would have their own messianic and religious and enlightened sort of figures. And that was a really interesting narration from Ibn Abbas that elucidates this further that I thought was worth sharing.